nationalism was a game, its name would be Uchronia. Is the dystopian steampunk visual novel a cash grab or a dream come true for many Otome fans? Utakata no Uchronia can record one of the most successful Otome visual novel game launches in the recent years, and will therefore get a localization. But it has one big problem for me. Why do I say something so harsh about such a successful game? And why is being a cash grab not even necessarily a bad thing? We'll analyze in this video. But be aware that after more than 50 completed Otome games, I might have a very personal opinion of what makes a good Otome game and what doesn't. So by all means, if you have the time and money, get the game, or let my hours of research and scripting convince you whether it's the best decision or the worst decision you could make. Because I don't want anyone else to be like me, just blindly buy new Otome game releases, spend $60 and 60 hours of my life, and then crying up on my bed why I wasted so much time and money in my life. Seriously, don't be me. First, what is Utakata no Uchronia? It's a visual novel, which means reading text, Otome game, which means dating pretty boys. That was released in Japan April this year and will get an English localization next year. And in the lack of other new releases in the week of its Japanese release, it took first place in the Famitsu eShop rankings as the first visual novel Otome game in the recent years. Because gamers tend to enjoy reading not as much as moving their thumbs, visual novel Otome games without gameplay tend to be less successful compared to gameplay Otome games. While Otome games with gameplay elements like the Tokimeki series or Jack-chan have some of the highest sales numbers, with the only exception I know as Busterfellows, that also managed to sell 100,000 copies worldwide. And that now a visual novel Otome game Uchronia managed to be the top-selling game of the week was so unusual that even Nintendo Live wrote a very snappy article about how Uchronia takes the crown of Princess Peach. But to fully understand the impact of this new release, we have to look at the past of Otome games. In 2020, let's start a bit earlier. In 2005. Or just watch my video about Otome history. But long story short, after the initial invention of the Otome genre by Ruby Partey, aka Koei Tecmo, with Angelique and early adapters like Bandai Namco, the Tokimeki series, a new company, Otome, entered the market. And while the first Otome game of Otome game history tried to combine gameplay with a romantic narrative, Otome stripped the games almost entirely of the gameplay and published pure visual novel Otome games, like published a lot of them. While other companies published Otome games every other year, Otome publishes several Otome games a year to this day. They might not sell as well as gameplay Otome games, but they probably make up for it just by the sheer amount of different titles. More on that later. And that's pretty much what they did and what dominated the market for the last 20 years. Solid. But like I talked about in my video about the future of Otome games, recently there's more movement in the market. I'm not absolutely sure what this is caused by, but since 2020, the genre recorded rising figures both in Japan as especially in the West and China. There are more companies entering the market, and they're trying out new concepts to wake up this genre that has been in slumber for the past 20 years. And one of these new companies is Massobeats that created Uchronia. And this is not a random new company. They are a daughter of Buckley, who are in charge of games like Uta no Prince-sama. I think we all know it. And Jack-chan, two of the most selling Otome games. Why did they form a new sub-company? Just like Otome was born from Idea Factory, Massobeats is now born from Broccoli, acknowledging that there's a need for a separate company to fulfill our romantic dating needs. But they are smart and they are rich. I mean, Uta no Prince-sama is everywhere, literally, you can't escape it. So they don't hire any rookies. They hire the best of the best, the creme de la creme, people who have been working for Otome, people who have been creating some of the most successful games like Pio Fiore or Hakuoki. And yes, these people are now working with Broccoli. Is it a good thing or the worst possible setup? We'll find out soon enough. But that is the rough setup that brought us now Uchronia. The game was announced roughly 1 year before release, which is pretty standard. But then half a year before release, which is not standard at all, they already started selling limited merch items 6 months before release. They started to appear on conventions and started selling their merch. Why do I emphasize that so much? Yes, it's unusual, okay, but above all, merch brings the money. The company started to make money off the game before the game even released, because they managed to build up such a hype that people were already willing to spend money on the merch. So keep that in mind while we continue. They started to market the game really early, really aggressively. Next to Twitter, they also used Line, a popular messaging app in Japan, to advertise the game and give you glimpses of little dialogue and what's to come. While line marketing is pretty standard in Japan, I don't know of any Otome games who have used that yet. So already in the marketing section, they are getting creative. And lastly, they released a demo a few days before release to let you play the first chapters, aka the common route. They tried everything to tease the audience and give them glimpses of what is to come with a demo, and already enhanced the fans' limited merch item FOMO even before release. So fans already started to speculate which characters will they like and which characters should they now spend their money on before it gets even more expensive after the game's release. I mean, Otome game merch is already wilder than the stock market, but I had never seen it exploding even before release. Next, I wonder if they have tactically chosen the release date so that there's no other new release in this exact week, to enhance the chance of the game becoming a top seller in the sales list, which is practically free marketing. Even more so with a snappy article like Nintendo Lives. Maybe it's a coincidence, I don't know, but it certainly brought some more attention to the game. Finally, the game itself. This part of the analysis will be a bit like my usual reviews, where I explain the setup and introduce the characters and give my opinion on the tone and romance of the game. And the setup of this Otome game is as enticing as it can get. Our heroine is an aristocrat of only a handful of noble families who reign over the districts of the city in the sky, which is floating above the ground, powered by a steam engine, and protected by a big tree, a physical one, and one godlike creature, watching over the island and its citizens. But the most wonderful and yet mysterious thing about the island is the complete absence of violence and eternal peace among the inhabitants. Or could that only be superficial? Because in the red light district, they started to form a group rebelling against the oppression of the big tree and demanding justice for the exiled. As it is the case that criminals will be banned and exiled to the underground, exiled to a place with no light, where no one will see them and where there's no chance of ever getting back. One little crack in the peaceful face of the oh-so-perfect city. And as the game starts, not only is the heroine Hinagiku attacked by a strange man, something that has never happened before in this peaceful society, she's then rescued by a mysterious man with amnesia she decides to take care of. There are also sudden incidents of people starting to burn in the bright daylight. So our curious and responsible heroine has to find out the truth about these incidents as she investigates it together with the different dateable characters. One of the first two playable characters is the self-constrained butler, who treasures Hinagiku more than his own life. Which should make for a passionate route of trying to hold back his feelings but not being able to contain his desire and love. That is at least what my horny monkey brain expected. Yes, I do play Otome games for a reason. What I got was a pretty chill butler who is too high level on self-constraint and too loyal to ever touch his master. And as I read the sentence, I knew this route is going to disappoint me. He is too strong for steamy girls' good. So rather than a passionate dance between love and duty, his route was a quiet river, rippling away while he waited for the heroine to realize his feelings, though he never says a word about them. Which means the love story is pretty much in the reader's mind, as the heroine slowly realizes she has been in love with him all along. Oh well, I knew I wouldn't like this character. It was okay. After Awayuki, Yori unlocks. He's part of the royal guard protecting the big tree, and an absolute selfish asshole. He wants to marry Hinagiku for all the dubious reasons, which are obviously lies. But the game wants you to fall for it as easily as the heroine does. The man is a red flag and he stays a red flag. And the heroine is just okay with it. The other character you can start with is Tobari, or the glimpse of light for me in this desert of love. He's the leader of the Red Light District Rebellion, and obviously the coolest and most lovable character on the whole island. With him you learn more about life outside society, and both slowly overcome their prejudices and start to respect and treasure each other. What a beautiful love story. Why can't the whole game be like this? Or is it just my voice actor bias speaking, because he's voiced by the same character as Yang? I can't tell. After Tobari you unlock Tsuyusa, the childhood friends. And since when are childhood friends locked? aren't they usually the most vanilla of roots? Well, anyway, turns out he's just another character already in love with the heroine who's patiently waiting for her to recognize his feelings. And for some magical, unexplained reason, she indeed loves him back at the end of the route. Lucky him. Second to last, the poster boy Yashiro unlocks. The mysterious boy with amnesia. You would think, if his secret wasn't already uncovered in the first route you play. Well, there goes that tension. And his background story is so wacko, it made the love story even more unbelievable than it already was. And then the game continues to torment me with the true route, because apparently Yashino wasn't the true route. But there's another true route, which is only there to info dump for hours and quickly tell you what is the true truth about the island you've been waiting for the last routes. I mean, already in the other routes the sci-fi aspect was kinda there, but here it totally escalated. Unforeseeable, nonsensical sci-fi revelations one after another, and yeah, I don't like sci-fi. Maybe that's why. Just quickly told because time is money and romance is for girls, apparently. Yeah, what was that for? Can't even date the true route for sci-fi reasons? I already hated sci-fi to begin with, and now that? Come on! Not only do I have to endure nonsensical sci-fi plot I'm not interested in whatsoever, and then this stupid plot also stops me from dating the true route? What the fuck? I'm so out. Well, the game is over, so there's no much sense in leaving now. Might as well tell you a bit more about the plot, though I've only talked about the romantic side of the route so far. The plot is actually the main focus of the game. This game is plot heavy. So heavy actually, they couldn't even lift a finger to make the kiss scene part of the route. No, they just had to slap it on after the credit rolls, and it doesn't even take longer than a minute. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about the plot, not about the romance. Sorry about that. I guess you could argue whether you like romance-heavy games or plot-heavy games is a matter of taste. Yeah, I agree, but in my opinion, the game didn't even do good for a plot-heavy game. It starts with the fact that you start investigating the same crime case in every route, though you in theory already solved it in the first route you've played. Of course, the focus shifts a bit depending on which character you're investigating together with, and especially the second half of each route gives you some more information about the overarching truth and also the character revelations. Except for poster boy Yashiro, the mysterious boy with amnesia, one of all-time most popular plot devices, around who the truth should center, don't you think? Well, firstly, no. There's another true info dump route. And secondly, his secret gets revealed in the first route you play. Why, I wonder, is that necessary? No. Did it take away all the tension concerning this character? Yes. Speaking of not well-kept secrets. You know how satisfying it is to finally reveal the face of a character who has been wearing a mask or whose face you couldn't see the whole time? Guess what happens in the first route? The game has so intricate world building with the great tree and the 3 factions. So why give it away so quickly? Because until the true route info dump, there's not so much coming out. Sure, bits and pieces were revealed later in the routes, but the revelations I was most excited for as a player, revelations concerning the characters I spent all my time with, were given away too quickly in my opinion, and wasted the potential to wow me at the end of the game. Instead, they chose to make the big truth about something that doesn't really involve the dateable characters, nor the MC, and I felt totally detached from as a player, as it came so suddenly and it wasn't really connected to my previous romantic adventures. Truth about this fascinating world lies outside the character's reach, and for me that totally takes away the meaning of it. You just get told the truth in the last route, there's nothing you can do about it, no connection, no consequences. But that also might be me having very different expectations on how the plot will play out. And I can see that if you are able to enjoy sci-fi plots and sci-fi revelations, that the truth might still be interesting to discover for you. But maybe what got you interested in the game in the first place wasn't the promising plot, but the awe-inspiring art. We know this artist from my favorite game of all time, Pure Fjorde, and this time it felt slightly more edgy, but not less enticing. What is even more outstanding is what they call live 2D. The game is 2D, okay, but the sprites move quite lively and even change their expressions during the scenes, or might look at you at the camera and might look away again. So if you let the game run on auto mode, It comes as close to watching an anime as a console game can. I personally don't think it's so much better than Dance with Devils or Hiro no Kakera, for example, but at least they try to come up with something new and innovative. But if that's so innovative, how dare I say this game is a commercial cash grab? It's because the game and its characters feel soulless to me. I feel like I've seen the things in the game before, and if they just combined many popular Otome games in one. Not rarely you might have already seen the comparison with Code Realize and Pure Fiore, and I kinda agree. Code Realize is known for its sci-fi steampunk setting, which Uchronia chose as well. So honestly, apart from the last route, I don't think it's as prevalent as in Code Realize. Next, they also chose a crime setting, like some other popular Otome games, namely Color X Malice and Busterfellas. Not that no one is allowed to tell crime stories anymore, but I think they might have chosen this setup because it appeals to a wider audience. Also, the underground prison is pretty much the topic of Steam Prison. Actually not very well known Otome game, but I still was surprised to see that concept again. I don't think it's anything too special, but it was kind of an interesting similarity. And lastly, Pure Fiore. The comparison is obvious due to the same illustrator. So let's see if we can find the characters. Dante, emotionally restrained kudere, check. Nicola, dishonest flirt, check. Yang. So while his voice actor again voices a rather unconventional character, he isn't the red flag in the game. No, Yori is. Yes, the game includes a walking red flag. A really big one. Oh look. Well, at least we get his voice actor. And I guess Mr. Big Tree is also a cute little boy. Gilbert. Just a good boy, he's super cool and smart. No, I think he's actually missing. But to make up for this, please look at these two CGs and tell me if you see any similarities. Or do I start seeing things? Maybe I'm being a bit harsh here, but my point is that everything in this game reminded me of another game, which could be kind of my fault for having played a lot of games, but it still didn't quite feel natural and organic. And I mean, you could as well argue, oh, those are just like normal, typical and very popular tropes, so it's natural for them to choose a similar combination of tropes. And that is true, but they would still say it's a very calculated composition of characters. And some similarities to Pure Fiore are still surprising. But I'm not yet saying if that's a bad thing. That we'll find out later in the video. I can't really explain why, but also the characters seemed kind of empty to me. Or rather, I strongly felt that they were there to make me feel something, to give the game a bickering, bantering atmosphere, to make me like them. But this atmosphere seemed so forced to me, rather than a natural chemistry between characters. Their banters seemed almost like calculated math, to make the game funny and make me like them as a group. Or while they say Tsushiksa doesn't like people, I can't recall a single scene where he actually shows kind of negative attitude towards other people. He's rather a genuine nice guy. Maybe I'm weirdly picky here, but the setup seemed unnatural to me, and the characters not more than tropes that serve a certain purpose. And I can't tell when exactly this impression formed, but for me everything in this game feels calculated. From the banter between the characters to the side characters. Because oh my, do the side characters only exist to make us want to date them. And they went totally overboard with it. I'd say they are equally, if not even more beautiful and likable than the main characters. And for some characters you even get complete backstories and meet cutes. Do you hear me? Look at this baby boy. He's the elder brother of Yori. And half of Yori's route I felt like I was actually dating Tsuwabaki. I'm not kidding you. He is kind and caring, watches out for the MC, knows and addresses her worries, even catches her in his arms when she falls. And you tell me I can't date him? Maybe again, voice actor bias speaking here, because it's Eon's voice actor from Radiant Tail. You can't tell me those side characters don't only exist to sell me on the DLC or a fan disc where I can finally date them. So do you see what is happening here? Everything in this game seems calculated to drive more sales. And this is still the tip of the iceberg. But again, I'm not arguing that's a bad thing. We'll talk about that later. And I myself will eat my words and this whole review. And will become a clown as soon as they drop the DLC or FD or whatever. Where I can date my darling Tsuwabaki. Because we belong together, he's the actual true root and no one can tell me otherwise. But it's not only in the side characters that will sell you on whatever they're going to make afterwards. It's also the low sugar content we got in the base game. If you fell in love with the stories and characters, you're, I'd argue, intentionally left thirsty. They gave you, I'd argue, intentionally, as few sugar content as an Otome game can bear, to later sell you up on expensive extra content. Some reviews I've read already speculated about this, even before they announced the first DLC. Especially the endings are pretty open-ended. And screaming for continuation. The heroine's dream to go outside was never fulfilled. We never saw the outside world in the main game. The problems of the society are not fully solved. So there's a lot left to explore in a sequel. First DLC was free and included some short after stories that are voiced but without animated sprites and without the CG, so just plain text. But it's called the first DLC, so we have to wait and see what else there's to come. And while Uchronia is not the first Otome game with a DLC, Tokimeki Memorial Gold Side 4 that also has a quite expensive DLC, it's still relatively rare to see it in Otome games. Well, of course, it's pretty standard in the rest of the gaming industry. And that is of course for one simple reason. It's easier and cheaper to upsell existing fans on a new product of an already finished game than creating a new game overall that might as well flop. So once you have a game with a huge fan base, it might be wiser to continue producing content for this game. Look at Utano Prince-sama or Diabolic Lovers, sheer never-ending franchises. And it makes total sense financially and keeps the fans happy. Another important strategy, especially for the Otome industry, is producing merch, multimedia products and events. It's very common for Otome games to also be accompanied by drama CDs. Otome often hosts events with voice actors and of course to sell merch. 500 yen for a piece of plastic? Oh yeah. This is also why a company might prefer to produce a game with a lower sugar content. As, no matter how hard that is to say, we horny maidens, us steamy girls, are in the minority. I know, be strong. There are also players of Otome games who don't like the steam, or an audience that rather would experience a story than experience romance. Popular games like Jack Jana Bastefelles are pretty cold on the steamy front. And secondly, a wonderful example if you ask me is Bidoshana from Otome. If the sugar content is low in the base game, you have a better reason to sell NFT where the sugar content is high. And I fell for that. I bought the base game just so I can buy the FD, so it works, it's okay, give me the Steam, no matter how long I have to wait. Lastly, why is being calculated to grab our money not necessarily a bad thing for the genre overall? First of all, it's a company. Companies need money. The more money they get, the more or the better games they can produce. Or pay their employees fair wages. I mean, why not? And as the Otome market is small and voice actors are expensive, companies really need to budget. Yes, the games are not as expensive to produce as them AAA high graphics shenanigan games, but they also don't sell as well. I only know the initial eShop sales, which for Otome games are often around the 6,000, maybe 9,000 if it's a well-selling game. And for Uchronia it was 11,000, but only in the first week. After that, it vanished completely from even the top 30 sales. So it's fair to assume that most of the sales are made in the first week, and that most games don't even make it close to 100,000 copies, a number that would probably count as a flop in any other genre. Otome themselves said they wouldn't have the money to make animations like Love in Deep Space, the new and absurdly popular Chinese mobile Otome game that generated the most income of Otome mobile games this year. So either you target Chinese mobile players who are more than 50% female, or you have to look for other ways than gacha to get the money coming, despite a relatively small target market. And for many games that are selling extra content, DLCs, drama CDs, stage plays, or merch. And as Massobeats is a new studio, they probably have to prove Mama Broccoli that they are worth it. Prove there's a market for Otome games, and prove they can bring in the money. Which leads me to my conclusion whether you should buy the game or not. And I guess for almost all games the answer is yes, because only then you can tell if it's for you, because no reviewer can actually tell you that. Sorry guys. But for the matter of this video, by buying Otome games and all the stuff around it, we show companies there's a market for it. The more money we spend on Otome games, the more and the better Otome games we might eventually get. The better the marketing of an Otome game, the wider the appeal of its setting and art, the wider the reach and the higher the chances of it being successful. And the more Otome grows, the more we can tackle the potentially biggest problem of our genre. And that is the general awareness. I think only the fewest you even have friends who know what Otome games are, even if they are into video games in general. Some people might have awkward stereotypes towards Otome games and their players. And the more successful, or might I say cash grabby a game is, the more people get the chance to get to know this amazing genre. So though I didn't like the game personally, I think it's a step in the right direction. It's a new company with a new IP, well, doing admittedly old things, but I can see how treading in safer waters is good as a debut game. They test the market, make the market aware of themselves, and then hopefully in the future will bring us more and more innovative games, similar to what Voltage did with Even If Tempest. Purchasing Uchronia is your worst decision if you don't have all the time and money in the world and prefer games with higher sugar content and a stronger focus on the love development. It will be your best decision, on the other hand, if you can enjoy a game merely for its world building and plot revelations, or want to demonstrate with your purchase, like with any other Otome purchase, that we're here and we're supporting the Otome market to grow.